Alonso drives one to deep center field. Forget that! That ball is out of here! Out of here! Pete Alonso to dead central.
What's going on, guys? It's Fuzzy. Welcome back to yet another baseball video. Today what we're going to be doing is we will be talking about the most hyped baseball players of 2019. I have been preparing this video for almost 5-6 months because I took a list of all the guys that I was most excited to see, whether it was because they were traded, they signed with the new team, or in the case of Vladimir Guerrero Jr., they were called up. So we're going to see, did they live up to the expectations or did they fail? Did they maybe, suffer underneath the pressure of the hype? So we're going to break every single player down right now. The first player that I want to talk about right now, because he signed a 10-year, $300 million contract, is Manny Machado. I thought that he was going to go off for the San Diego Padres. Take a look at his 2019 projections. He was supposed to hit 290 with about 35 home runs and 100 RBIs. Now, the only thing is he kind of did that. He had 32 home runs, so really close to 35, and also he had 85 RBIs. But the thing that we have to take note on is the fact that his OPS did not even go above 800. So his OPS for 2019 was 796. Just to kind of put that into perspective, Tyler Naquin, the outfielder for the Cleveland Indians that pretty much no one talks about unless you're an Indians fan, he had a 792 OPS. So pretty much offensively, Tyler Naquin and Manny Machado were almost the same player, kind of, but not really. He just wasn't as productive this year. Also, on top of that, Manny Machado's defense, it was still good, but it wasn't the Manny Machado that we have grown to know and love. So the fact that his offense slipped as well as his defense, I'm going to go ahead and give Manny Machado in his first season down in San Diego a C. Let me know in the comment section down below if you agree with me or disagree with me. Oh man, this next one is going to get me pretty fired up because this man, I know he didn't do it on purpose, but Kikuchi of the Seattle Mariners, he stole $23 million from the Seattle Mariners. We're going to break it down right now because back in 2017 when he was still pitching in Japan, this guy had a 1.97 ERA and he had a crazy 10.4 strikeouts per nine. So he was supposed to be the next Yu Darvish when Yu Darvish was with the Rangers, but instead in 2019 Kikuchi had a 5.5 ERA with a whopping 1.5 whip and only a 6.5 strikeouts per nine. So his ERA went up by 4. His strikeouts per nine was pretty much cut in half. And this guy was giving up 11 hits per 9 innings. There was nothing about this season that I would say, Kikuchi, he could build on that for 2020. I'm sorry, if you're a Mariners fan, maybe close your ears, but that's just my opinion. I'm hoping that he turns it around for 2020. I'm not a hater. I hope that he does well, but yeah, that was an F season from me. Aside from Vladimir Guerrero Jr., I would say that Bryce Harper was the most player going into 2019. That's simply because he joined a division rival. He went from the Nationals to the Phillies. I'm not sure if he's regretting that because the Phillies are at home and the Nationals, they just beat the Brewers, which by the way was an insane game. One of the best baseball performances I've ever seen from the wild card. So thank you for the wild card and all the madness that it provides. But Bryce Harper, he was number 2 in jersey sales this year, right behind Aaron Judge. And that's simply because, he joined a brand new team. Everyone wants his jersey, but the attendance at Citizens Bank Park went up 7,000 people. So the fact that he has increased attendance, he's number 2 in jerseys, and on top of that, in the second half of 2019, this guy hit 19 home runs, had a 941 OPS in just 65 games. So that raised his 2019 total to 35 home runs, 114 RBIs, 15 stolen bases, and an 882 OPS. So for someone that's overrated, I would say that's a pretty good season. Another thing to point out with Bryce Harper is the fact that he tied Hunter Renfroe for the most outfield assists in the entire National League. So I'm going to go ahead and give him some props because he was probably the worst right fielder in 2018 in terms of defense. So the fact that his offense was actually pretty good, if not elite in the second half, and his defense was pretty solid, I'm going to give Bryce Harper, what did I give him? A B. So I'm not going to give him a B+. I'm not going to give him an A because let's be honest, the Phillies, they did not make the playoffs, but I'm giving him a B because I do not think that he reached his highest potential. We've seen him win the MVP when he had a 1,100 OPS, so he can get back there. He has to stay healthy like he did this year, but for right now, B for the 2019 season for Bryce Harper. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. was the most hyped prospect since Chris Bryant, Bryce Harper. I think that those guys, maybe Steven Strasburg, those guys are all in the same category for most hyped prospects in the history of my life because I don't remember a lot of guys. I'm only 23 years old, so those were the most hyped guys for me. It was projected that he was going to hit 20 plus home runs, maybe have 80, 85 RBIs, and a 900 OPS, similar to what Juan Soto did in his age 19 season. He kind of, he had 15 home runs, but the only thing is his OPS was at 772, which was even lower than Manny Machado and obviously lower than Tyler Naquin. So I know he had a great moment at the 2019 Home Run Derby. He had 90-something home runs. I was there seeing it live. I know that this guy's talent is sky high, but the fact that he underproduced, it's fact. It's not subjective. I'm saying it right now. He was healthy for majority of the season. He couldn't put it together. So I'm going to go ahead and give Vladimir Guerrero Jr. a C+. We're just waiting for him to kind of collect all the pieces, put them together for 2020, and I'm hoping that he bounces back because it's not like he was horrible, but it's not like he was great either. So guys, if you agree or disagree with any of my picks so far, let me know in the comment section down below, because now we're going to go ahead and move on to Fernando Tatis Jr. Then we're going to go ahead and talk about his other rookie counterpart, Pete Alonso, because this guy was special. But Fernando Tatis Jr., he will be getting the first A on today's list because his dad hit 2 grand slams in 1 inning, so he has some pretty big cleats to fill, and he did just that. If we take a look at Fernando Tatis Jr. and his stats, he only played in 84 games, but he had 22 home runs, 16 stolen bases, and a 970 OPS in just 84 games. And on top of that, his defense was incredible. He is one of the faster shortstops in all of baseball. I think that this guy, he could be the next Nomar Garcia Parra if he stays healthy, so I'm going to give him an A. Honestly, he's only getting an A and not an A+ because durability, I will be factoring that in, especially with Pete Alonso. So if Fernando Tatis Jr. is going to get an A, yeah, Pete Alonso is going to get an A+. What more can you say about Pete Alonso? His expectations going into 2019 were simple. Hit a lot of home runs and drive in base runners. That's exactly what he did. He changed the Mets lineup for the next 10 years. He had 53 home runs, which was a rookie record. He passed Aaron Judge. He's going to win the Rookie of the Year. And on top of that, he won $1 million as the 2019 Home Run Derby champion. Pete Alonso, if his defense can improve, I'm still going to give it an A+. I almost put him at an A because his defense was pretty bad. I think he had like -6 defensive runs, which is really, really bad. So A+ for Pete Alonso, but still there is some room to improve. So I'm going to go ahead and give him the benefit of the doubt. I think that his bat is going to continue to rake and rake and rake with his defense kind of improving as he ages. So Pete Alonso with the only A+ of today's video. Last person I want to talk about in terms of rookies is going to be Eloy Jimenez. We'll go ahead and talk about him real quick because he quietly actually had a pretty good year. Now, he was expected to come in and hit 35 to 40 home runs because there were videos of him in a home run derby in the minor leagues hitting baseball so far that it was breaking the lights out in center left field. So he was supposed to have unlimited power for the most part. Now, I had him on my fantasy team, so I can tell you guys he was not that great in the first half, and that was mostly because of injuries. But the reason why I'm going to give him a B+ for the season is because in 122 games he had 31 home runs, so that's actually not too bad for missing 40 games. And if we take a look at his September stats, he hit 340 with 9 home runs, 25 RBIs, and an insane 1,093 OPS. So we saw how good this guy can be with 9 home runs and a 1,093 OPS in a single month. He was the Rookie of the Month in September. So I think that going forward, that is exactly what I wanted to see. So he gets a B+ from me. The next 2 players that I want to talk about real quick, I'm going to go ahead and group them together because the reason why they're hyped is because they won the MVPs in 2018. So all of the baseball world was seeing, can Christian Yelich replicate what he did last year, and same with Mookie Betts. So I think both of them did, but in different ways. So Christian Yelich, first off, a lot of people were saying, you know, he's not going to do that great. He's really just a role player from Miami. And then he wins the MVP, and then he backs it up again in 2019, even though he shattered his kneecap with the foul ball. I mean, this guy hit 40+ home runs. He had I think he did have 30 stolen bases. This guy, he's still in the running for MVP, even though he missed 20+ games. So Cody Bellinger, you know, he's not safe just yet. Christian Yelich, I am going to give an A. Actually, you know what? I think I'm going to change that. Christian Yelich is getting an A+ for me. So the only 2 A+ for today have to be Pete Alonso and Christian Yelich, because Yelich might win the MVP after being injured for a good amount of the season, which is just ridiculous. And then the second MVP from last year was obviously Mookie Betts. He had an insane season last year, and there was almost no way that he could repeat it because it was one of the greatest overall seasons in the history of baseball. So this year we can see that he still actually did pretty good. He was expected to, you know, play elite defense and carry the Sox to the playoffs, but unfortunately the Red Sox pitching might have had something to say about that. He played 14 more games this year, but he had less home runs, less stolen bases. His OPS dropped over 100 points, but there's no shame in saying that you had 176 base hits, 135 runs, 29 home runs, and a 915 OPS with elite defense. So Mookie Betts, he is still getting an A from me, but the fact that he did not repeat that MVP season, not going to get the A+, and I can't imagine where he might go this offseason because the Red Sox, it looks like they're not keeping him. So I can relate to you Red Sox fans. I'm an Indians fan. We're probably going to lose Francisco Lindor, so it's It's just very sad. All right, so now we're going to move into a few players that were traded in the offseason, and we're going to talk about them kind of collectively. We have Paul Goldschmidt and JT Realmuto. I got this pumpkin yesterday because spooky season is back, so I actually named that pumpkin Paul because Paul Goldschmidt is one of my favorite players, and he was a top 5 MVP the last 6 to 7 years. 2019 was a little bit different. I talked about him in a recent video, but the fact that he gets a C+ from me. He had an 886 OPS in the second half of the season, so that saved it. I mean, it's not really saying much. I think he had an 821 OPS, so he was really bad in the first half, but the fact that he turned it around, he was one of the biggest reasons why the Cardinals made a push. Him and Jack Flaherty, they carried the Cardinals to winning the NL Central, so I'm going to go ahead and tip my cap off to that. But unfortunately, because Paul Goldschmidt did not repeat his Diamondback stats, I'm going to give him a C+. It would have been a C, but the plus comes from the second half. It might even be a B-, but C+ from me. We also saw JT Realmuto traded in the offseason. I will be giving him an A because if you're getting elite defense, he's a top 3 defensive catcher, and on top of that, from the catching position, he gives you 25 home runs, 9 stolen bases, and an 820 OPS. The last guy that we had that was this good all around was Buster Posey, and he was winning World Series and winning MVP. So yeah, JT Realmuto, 100% getting an A for me. So when you have Bryce Harper with a really good second half and JT Realmuto as this 2 studs going forward in 2020, if Rhys Hoskins can return to form, and if the Phillies can sign, I don't know, Garrett Cole, Phillies might be good. The last 4 players I want to talk about real quick, they are going to be my honorable mentions because they're just guys that I was looking at for the 2020 season if they were going to improve or not. And the first one was Gary Sanchez. In 106 games, he had 34 home runs, so he is back after having a 697 OPS in 2018. Now, the only thing is I'll be giving Gary Sanchez a B+, and that's because his defense did improve a little bit, but his durability, it's still in question. So it would have been an A because his defense improved. He's back to being one of the most elite catchers in terms of offensive catchers in all of baseball, if not the most elite catcher in terms of hitting. So yeah, he gets a B+ from me. And then the next 3 guys, we have Mike Moustakas, Yasmani Grandal, and Josh Donaldson. They're all going to be getting A's for me because they played to their contract. They all signed for 1 year, so I think they're going to get even more money this year. Yasmani hit a home run yesterday against Max Scherzer, so this guy, he's going to get paid in the offseason. But that's going to do it for today's video. If you agree, disagree, or if you feel like I left out any player, let me know in the comment section down below, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Hopefully you enjoy my little setup because I'm kind of like Matt Vashkerzen, or I'm like Greg Amsinger from MLB Network. I like that. All right, guys. See you in the next one. Peace out.